My dear friend, I want you to come with me for a moment. I want you to look beyond these walls, beyond the sky you see with your natural eyes, and I want you to consider a truth so profound it can shatter every chain of loneliness you've ever worn. It is this: you are seen. Not in the glancing, casual way of the world, not in the manner of someone who notes your outward appearance and moves on. No, you are seen in the secret place, in the quiet, unlit chamber of your own spirit, where you have tucked away the things too precious, too fragile, or too disappointed to speak of anymore. There is a desire in your heart. Perhaps you came here tonight holding it in your hands, a tender, trembling thing. You can feel its weight, you know its shape. It's the prayer for healing that has become a whisper because the shouting grew too weary. It's the longing for a broken relationship to be made whole that you've stopped mentioning, even to your closest friends, because the hope feels too sharp to handle. It's the dream for a child, for a purpose, for a breakthrough in a situation that seems sealed shut by iron circumstance. You may have even tried to bury it, to tell yourself it doesn't matter, to settle for the smaller story because the larger one seemed ordained for someone else, some other life, but not for yours. And in the burying, a loneliness sets in. It is the most profound loneliness there is, the feeling that the deepest part of who you are, the part that yearns, is speaking a language no one hears, cherishing a hope no one else can validate. You walk through your days, you perform your duties, you smile and you converse, but inside, there is a silent chamber where that one desire lives, and you believe you are its only visitor. You think its walls have never echoed with any voice but your own, sometimes in prayer, often in a sigh of resignation. But oh, I am here to tell you that you are wrong. That chamber is not a solitary cell. It is a sanctuary. And there is another present. Before you ever formed that desire, before it took shape as a specific request for a specific need, the Spirit of the living God was brooding over your life. He knew the nature of your heart before you understood it yourself. He planted the capacity for that very hope within you. So when it first flickered to life, he saw it. When it grew into a steady flame, he warmed himself by its light. And when the winds of disappointment and delay blew so fiercely that you thought it might be snuffed out into cold gray ash, he was there, his very hand cupped around that fragile flame, ensuring it was not extinguished, but preserved. He knows its texture. He knows the exact reason it matters so desperately to you. He understands that it's not just about the thing itself, the healed body, the restored home, the provided need, but about what it means. The healed body means a future, a service, a release from pain. The restored home means love manifest, a sanctuary of peace. The provided need means a testimony of faithfulness, a stone of remembrance. God sees the full tapestry of meaning woven into that single thread of desire. He sees the past hurts that make this hope so poignant. He sees the future joys its fulfillment would unlock. He sees the entire landscape of your heart that surrounds this one, Central Valley. This is the foundation of everything. You cannot trust someone who is blind to your reality. You cannot surrender to a will that is ignorant of your deepest need. But how can you surrender to a love that sees you, truly, fully, unflinchingly sees you, and does not look away? That sees the shadowed corners, the unhealed wounds next to the desire, and still draws near? This is the God we speak of. He is not a distant administrator, processing your formal request. He is the intimate witness. He was there in the moment you first felt that ache. He was there in the doctor's office when the news fell like a stone. He was there in the empty room, in the silent phone call, in the closed door. He collected every tear that desire has ever cost you and holds them, every one, in a bottle. So tonight, I want you to do something. I want you to take your eyes off the thing you want and fix them on the one who already knows you want it. The miracle does not begin with the manifestation you can see with your eyes. It begins here, in this sacred recognition. The miracle begins in the soul that suddenly realizes, I am not alone with this. I have never been alone with this. The desire of my heart is not a secret I keep from God, but a secret I share with God. That realization is a light turning on in the lonely chamber. And in that light, you see it has been furnished for communion all along. When you understand that He knows, truly knows, the weight and shape of the burden you carry, something in your spirit can relax. You can stop explaining. You can stop justifying. You can stop repeating the request as if He didn't hear it the first 10,000 times. You can simply come before Him and say, you see it. You know. It's yours. That is the posture of a heart ready to receive. For how can you be ready to receive a gift from someone if you are not convinced they understand what you need? He does. He understands perfectly. So bring that desire out of the shadowy place of isolated worry and hold it up in the light of His knowing gaze. Not to inform Him, but to acknowledge Him. To say, this is what you and I have been speaking about. This is the hope I am entrusting to your faithful character. This is the first and greatest step out of the prison of your own striving and into the wide open space of grace. For when you know you are fully seen, you can begin to fully trust. And that, my friend, is where everything changes. Closing line for impact, that is where everything changes. Now, some of you are thinking, if He knows, then why does He wait? That is the question that storms the castle of our faith, isn't it? When the desire is pure and the need is great, and the silence seems to stretch on and on, we are tempted to believe that to be known is not the same as to be cared for. We begin to look at the space between the prayer and the answer as a barren, empty wasteland, a sign of divine neglect, or worse, divine refusal. Oh, but I want to take you by the hand tonight and walk you into that very space. I want to show you that what you call a waiting room, God calls a workshop. What you feel as a delay, He knows is a divine preparation. That aching, stretching, sometimes terrifying span of time is not God's oversight. It is His sacred intentional ground. It is not a holding pattern. It is holy cultivation. You see, God is not merely interested in giving you a thing. He is passionately committed to forming in you a character capable of carrying the weight of the miracle, of understanding its origin, and of stewarding its purpose. The desire in your heart is a seed, a precious God-given seed. But a seed, my friend, does not become a harvest the moment it is planted. There is a necessary, non-negotiable period where it must be buried. It must be surrounded by the dark, pressing earth. It must endure seasons of rain and cold and silence. To the world above, it looks like nothing is happening. It looks like absence. It looks like death. But underground, where no eye can see, a mighty work is taking place. The husk is breaking. The tender root is driving downward, seeking an anchor that will later sustain a mighty trunk. The first pale shoot is gathering its strength to push toward the light. All of this is essential. If you were to dig it up every day to check its progress, you would kill it. The waiting is the work. Consider the deepest desire of your heart. Perhaps it is for a healing. Could it be that in this waiting, God is healing parts of you the doctor could never touch? The inner fractures of self-reliance, the hidden wounds of bitterness, the deep weariness of a soul that has tried to be its own God? He is making you whole in the process, so that when the physical manifestation comes, you will not merely receive a repaired body, but a resurrected spirit that knows the healer more intimately than it knows the healing. Perhaps your desire is for a restoration, a relationship mended. Could it be that in this painful silence, God is doing a work in you that must be completed before you can step into a new chapter? He is sanding down the rough edges of your own heart, teaching you a forgiveness so profound it must be learned in the absence of the other person, planting in you a grace that is not contingent on another's apology. He is preparing you to be an agent of peace, not just a recipient of it. Or maybe it is a provision, a door to open. Could it be that God is allowing every human door to remain sealed so that you will be absolutely positioned to recognize the one He blows off its hinges? He is dismantling your trust in the predictable, in the likely, in the way things are always done. He is bringing you to the end of your own resourcefulness so that when the provision comes, you will not be able to credit the bank, the contact, the lucky break. You will have no explanation but God. And you will know with a certainty that cannot be shaken that it was His hand alone. This waiting period is where fate transforms from a theory into a tissue, from a concept into a constitution. It is easy to trust God when the answer comes swiftly. It costs nothing, but to trust Him in the darkness, to praise Him in the silence, to believe in His goodness when every external circumstance shouts of His indifference. That is a faith that is being forged in fire. And that kind of faith is more precious than gold. It becomes unshakable. It becomes your identity. You are no longer a person who has faith as a tool. You become a person who is faithful as your nature. And that, beloved, is a miracle greater than any single event. God is building in you an eternal capacity to trust Him, which will outlast every temporal blessing you will ever receive. Do not despise this season. Do not rage against it as an enemy. It is the most profound evidence that God is taking your desire seriously. He is not slapping a temporary fix onto a permanent need. He is doing a deep, thorough, and eternal work. The sudden miracle you long for is being carefully, intricately prepared in the unseen place, and so are you. The vessel is being shaped for the very moment it will be filled to overflowing. So tonight, I ask you to reframe the wait. See it not as God's no or not yet, but as God's I am fully invested in this process. The silence is not emptiness. It is the sound of His concentrated attention on the masterpiece He is creating in you and for you. The ache is not a sign of His absence, but the very proof of His nearness as He stirs and works and prepares. He is not withholding the gift. He is preparing both the gift and the receiver for a moment of divine confluence so glorious, so perfectly timed, that its impact will reverberate for eternity. Closing line for impact: the waiting is not the denial of the miracle, it is the foundation of it. There is a great wrestling that takes place in Cheech. Soul. When the desire is known and the wait is understood, we accept perhaps that God is at work, but then almost instinctively the human heart does something. It takes that surrendered seed and tries to manage the garden. We begin to plan the harvest. We calculate the season. We look at the sky and try to predict the rain. We decide how the miracle should look, the path it ought to take, and the hour it must arrive. And in doing so, my dear friend, we build a tiny prison for God Almighty. We exchange the limitless possibilities of His divine creativity for the cramped confines of our own imagination. This is the critical crossroads of trust. It is the moment where we are called to release our death grip on the how and the when. For true trust is not merely believing that God can act. It is resting in the certainty that His ways are higher, His thoughts are deeper, and His timing is perfect, even when, especially when, it contradicts every expectation we have meticulously constructed. You have prayed for that healing, and in your mind's eye, you see the path, the specialist who will have a cancellation, the new medication that will be approved, the gradual but steady improvement week by week. That is a good path. But what if God's path is not gradual? What if His intention is not a process you can chart on a graph, but a moment so instantaneous, so medically inexplicable, that it leaves no room for any explanation but Him? By clinging to the how of the gradual process, you might be closing your heart to the shock and awe of the sudden command. You must release the method. You have wept for that prodigal, and you have imagined the when. They will hit rock bottom. They will come to their senses. They will make the long journey home, perhaps by the holidays. That is a compassionate timeline. But what if God's when is not when they are broken and empty, in a moment of strange, quiet clarity in the midst of their chaos? What if it is tomorrow, or a year from now, in a way that bears no resemblance to the story you've rehearsed in your prayers? By insisting on the when of our emotional calendar, we can miss the divine appointment set on eternity's clock. We want to help God. We want to hand Him the blueprint we have drawn up, with all the specifications clearly noted. We say, Lord, here is the plan, please bless it. But God is not in the business of blessing our small plans. He is in the business of executing His magnificent, breathtaking purposes. Your blueprint is based on the past, on precedent, on what you have seen work before. His design is drawn from the future glory He intends to reveal. To demand that He follow our plan is to choose the model of a toy boat when He is offering us a transatlantic voyage. This is where faith moves from the abstract into the agonizingly practical. It means praying with absolute fervor, Lord, I believe for a miracle, and then, with the same breath, surrendering the clipboard. It means taking your hands off the steering wheel of the situation and not just inviting him to drive, but agreeing to be blindfolded in the passenger seat. You trust the driver, not the route you think you see on the map. Oh, the freedom that comes when you let go. The strain is not in believing God can. The strain is in insisting you know how He will. It exhausts the soul. It leads to despair when your specific scenario does not play out. It causes you to overlook His work because it came wearing different clothes than you expected. You prayed for financial relief, envisioning a promotion, and He sent a stranger to pay a bill. You prayed for a companion, imagining a meeting, and He began to heal the loneliness inside you first. His answers are so often more and different and better than our nah. Our requests. Look at the miracles in Scripture. Did the Israelites escape Egypt by a negotiated treaty? No, by a parted sea. Did David defeat Goliath with the king's armor? No, with a shepherd's stone. Did the lame man at the beautiful gate receive alms as he expected? No, he received ankles and feet. God's methods are unexpected. His pathways are creative. He delights in the suddenly that bypasses all human systems and intermediaries. He is not limited by your imagination, your resources, or your calendar. So tonight I ask you to do the most difficult yet most liberating thing. Open your hands. Hold your desire up to Him, that deep known desire of your heart, and then unclench your fingers. Let it go. Not the hope for it, but the management of it. Say, Lord, You know the desire. I trust You for the miracle. Now I release to You the way it will come and the moment it will arrive. I will not watch for a specific cloud formation. I will watch for You. I will not listen for a specific footstep. I will listen for Your voice. This is the posture that positions you for a surprise. This is the heart that is ready to receive the suddenly. For when you are no longer looking for a specific thing to happen in a specific way, you become open to the infinite possibility that is God Himself. And He can do anything, at any time, in any manner He chooses. Your job is not to plan the miracle. Your job is to believe the miracle worker. And when you believe Him more than you believe in your own understanding of the solution, you have stepped into the realm where anything, yes, anything can happen. Closing line for impact. Your surrender is not the end of your hope. It is the beginning of God's greatest work. And this brings us to the very heart of the promise, the sudden miracle. That word sudden, it thrills the soul, doesn't it? It sparks something in us. We hear it. And we think of the instantaneous, the unexpected, the moment when everything changes in the blink of an eye. And that is true. But oh, if we only see the sudden and not the miracle, we misunderstand the nature of God entirely. We can mistake Him for a celestial magician, pulling rabbits from hats for spectacle. But God is not a performer. He is a master builder. And what appears to us as a sudden, shocking manifestation is almost always the moment of harvest after a long, hidden season of faithful cultivation. Think of a great oak tree. One day a mighty wind comes and it falls. To the person passing by, it is a sudden event, a shocking collapse. But the forester knows the truth. The sudden fall was the result of a decade of hidden decay within the heartwood, a slow, unseen process that finally reached its tipping point. What is true in nature is a shadow of a greater truth in the spirit. The suddenly of God is not a thing from nowhere. It is the glorious, visible culmination of 1,000 invisible obediences, 1,000,000 whispered prayers, a long obedience in the same direction. It is the moment when all the threads of divine preparation, spun in the secret place over days and months and years, are suddenly pulled together into a stunning visible tapestry. You have been in the hidden place. You have been in the waiting, in the workshop. You have felt the pressing, the breaking, the rooting. You have released your own plans. And it has felt, at times, like nothing is happening. It has felt like silence. But I am here to tell you that in the unseen realm, the spiritual realm where God's kingdom is ever advancing, there has been a mighty gathering. There has been an assembling of forces. Angelic assignments have been given. Circumstances in lives you've never met have been gently shifted. A divine momentum has been building, like the slow, inevitable drawing back of a bowstring. To you, it has felt like tension. To heaven, it has been the gathering of potential energy for a release that will astound you. The sudden miracle is when the bowstring is released. It is the moment the arrow flies. It is swift, it is direct, it hits the mark. But the power in that flight was built in the long, steady pull. Your faithfulness in the dark was building the tension. Your worship through tears was strengthening the bow. Your persistent trust, even when you felt nothing, was aligning the arrow with the target. God has been assembling the components of your deliverance in the unseen. He has been moving people into place, softening hearts, arranging details with a precision that would stagger you if you could see it. He has been working on the other side of your need, preparing the provision, preparing the healing, preparing the word that will set you free. So when the suddenly comes, it will not feel random. It will feel divinely orchestrated. It will come with a sense of rightness, of a perfect fit, as if a key you never knew existed has just turned in a lock you've been facing for years. It will often come through a channel you discounted or in a manner you had ceased to expect. It may come as you are going about your daily duty, not in a great cathedral service. It may come through a word spoken in passing, a letter that arrives on a Tuesday, a thought that dawns with such clarity it feels like a voice. It will be so evidently from Him that your heart will cry out in recognition before your mind can even comprehend it. This is why the preparation was so vital. If the miracle came without the hidden work, you might receive the blessing but miss the blesser. You might enjoy the gift but not know the giver intimately. But when you have walked with Him through the valley of the shadow, when you have learned the sound of His voice in silence, when you have come to trust His heart even when you couldn't trace His hand, then, when the sudden breakthrough happens, you will not just see the thing you wanted, you will see Him. You will see the faithfulness of the one who was working all along. The miracle will not be an isolated event. It will be a monument to the journey, a testament to the trust that was forged in the fire. It will be a signpost that screams, He was here with you all the time. Do not grow weary in the preparation phase. Do not mistake the gathering of the clouds for the absence of the rain. The longer the bow is drawn, the greater the force of the release. The deeper the roots are driven in secret, the stronger the tree will stand in the storm. Your suddenly is being meticulously, lovingly prepared. It is not a divine afterthought. It is a divine appointment. And when the moment comes, it will be so unmistakably His doing that all you will be able to do is fall in worship. The years of waiting will crystallize into a single moment of awe. The pain will be swallowed up in a glory that makes the journey worth every step. So believe for the sudden, pray for the sudden, expect the sudden, but understand its nature. It is not God changing His mind. It is God perfecting His timing. It is not God relenting under pressure. It is God bringing His intricate, beautiful plan to its appointed hour of manifestation. The sudden is the flowering of the seed you have, in faith, allowed to be buried. It is the answer that has been echoing in heaven's halls, now breaking through into the atmosphere of your life. It is the victory that has been won in the unseen, now made visible for all to see. Closing line for impact. The miracle you call sudden is simply the moment when God's long-hidden work steps into the light. So then, with our hearts laid bare before the one who knows, having the sacredness of the wait, having surrendered our own blueprints and understanding the divine mechanics of the suddenly, we come to the most practical, most vital question of all: what do I do now? How do I live in this space between the promise and its manifestation? Is it a passive void, a coma of the spirit, where I simply sit and wait for lightning to strike? Oh no, 1,000 times no. This is not a time for spiritual inactivity. It is a time for active positioning. It is the time to align your entire being, your spirit, your soul, your body, your day-to-day life, with the frequency of faith, to become a vessel so ready, so poised in expectation, that when the moment of sudden arrives, you do not miss it, you do not fumble it, but you receive it with a heart prepared to give all glory to God. This positioning begins with the posture of your prayer. I am not talking about the prayer of polite, distant request. I am talking about the prayer that is rooted in the unshakable belief that you are already heard. Do you understand the difference? It is the shift from begging to believing. It is coming before the throne not as a desperate pauper clutching a list, but as a confident child who has already caught the yes in their father's eye. You pray, not to inform God of your need, but to align your spirit with His promise. You give voice to the desire He already knows, and you quote every word in the concrete assurance of His faithfulness. This kind of prayer is not a passive monologue. It is an active engagement with the spiritual reality that your answer is on its way. It is standing watch on the ramparts of your spirit, declaring what is true in heaven over what appears to be true on earth. It is the persistent, tenacious prayer of the widow before the unjust judge, not because God is unwilling, but because your persistence forges in you the very certain. Thank you. You will need to possess the answer when it comes, and intertwined with this prayer must be the constant flowing stream of gratitude. You thank Him for the answer before you see it. You thank Him for His character, for His goodness, His mercy, His power, which is the bedrock of the miracle. You find the blessings you can see, the mercies that are new this very morning, and you magnify them. You cultivate a spirit of thankfulness for the breath in your lungs, the ground under your feet, the love you do have. Why? Because gratitude is the atmosphere of faith. It is the proof that your trust is not contingent on the gift, but on the giver. A complaining, bitter spirit is like a thick fog that obscures the horizon. You will never see the ship of your deliverance coming. But a thankful spirit is a clear, sunlit sky. It sharpens your vision. It tunes your heart to the frequency of God's goodness, making you sensitive to the smallest evidence of His moving. When you live in gratitude, you are not denying your need. You are affirming His sufficiency. You are declaring that God is good, and His goodness is your fixed point, regardless of the storm. Then, you must live faithfully in the meantime. This is perhaps the most powerful act of expectation. You do not put your life on hold. You do not stop being a good neighbor, a faithful worker, a loving parent, a diligent steward of what you already have, while you wait for the more you believe for. You bloom where you are planted, even if the soil feels dry. You serve in the small things with a spirit of excellence, as unto the Lord. You love the people in front of you. You are faithful with the 5 talents, proving you can be trusted with 10. This daily, ordinary faithfulness is not separate from your miracle. It is the very conduit for it. It demonstrates that your desire is not for selfish gain, but for increased K-Pac. It to glorify Him. It shows God and shows your own soul that your trust is operational, that it has feet and hands. It keeps you from becoming so heavenward in your gaze that you become no earthly good. The miracle will often flow directly into the stream of your faithful obedience. It will meet you on the road as you are going about the Father's business. This is how you wait with holy anticipation, not with a frantic, anxious energy that scans the horizon every 5 minutes, but with a deep, settled peace that knows your times are in His hands. It is an active, engaged, vibrant trust. You pray with authority. You worship with gratitude. You work with diligence. You love with abandon. You become a living magnet for the goodness of God, not by manipulation, but by alignment. You position your life as an open vessel, clean and ready, pointed toward heaven. You are saying with your whole being, Lord, I am here. I believe your word. I trust your heart. I am ready for whatever you have for me, in whatever way you choose to bring it. Do not underestimate the spiritual power of a life positioned like this. It creates a space in the natural world for the supernatural to invade. It is the loosing on earth that agrees with what is already loosed in heaven. Your faith-filled, thankful, obedient life is not a passive wish. It is an active declaration that pulls the promise from the realm of spirit into the realm of substance. You are co-laboring with God, not in the striving of the flesh, but in the restful cooperation of a spirit fully surrendered and fully expecting. You are preparing the landing strip for the miracle. Closing line for impact. Your positioned life is the welcome mat for the sudden work of God. And now, beloved, we come to the final, most beautiful truth. After all the seeking, the waiting, the surrendering, the positioning, after you have done all you know to do, there comes a gift that is itself a miracle. It does not wait for the breakthrough. It does not depend on the answer. It arrives in the midst of the longing, settles into the heart of the storm, and makes its home in you long before the circumstance changes. It is the profound, inexplicable, supernatural peace of surrendered expectation. This is not the world's peace. The world's peace is a fragile truce, built on favorable conditions. It is the quiet that comes when the bills are paid, the diagnosis is clear, the relationship is secure. It is circumstantial, and therefore, it is temporary. It can be shattered by a single piece of bad news. But the peace I speak of is of another order entirely. It is a peace that guards your heart and mind, not because the battle is over, but while the battle still rages. It is a deep, river-like calm that flows right through the center of your anxiety. It is the stillness in the eye of the hurricane. It is not the absence of trouble. It is the presence of a person in the midst of it. It is the rest that comes when you have finally, truly, placed the entire weight of your desire, that known, cherished, aching desire of your heart, into his hands, and you have decided, come what may, to leave it there. This peace is the ultimate evidence that trust has taken root. It is the flower that blooms on the vine of surrender. For so long, you've been carrying that burden. You've clutched it to your chest, your mind spinning with scenarios, your stomach tied in knots, your sleep fractured with worry. You have prayed, but you have carried. You have believed, but you have strategized. And then there comes a moment, a holy, quiet moment, when the wrestling stops. It is not a moment of resignation, of giving up. It is a moment of glorious transfer. You feel the weight lift from your own weary shoulders, and you know, with a certainty that bypasses your intellect, that it has been taken up by shoulders infinitely broader, by a strength infinitely greater. You have handed over the outcome, and in that handing over, you are handed something in return, a perfect peace. This peace is your compass. It is the sign that you are abiding in the vine. When anxiety creeps back in, and it will, for it is a cunning thief, you will recognize it now as a signal. It is a flashing light telling you that you have somewhere, in some small way, taken the burden back. You have picked up the clipboard again. You have started watching the clock, and this beautiful, guarding peace will gently recede, not to punish you, but to alert you. It calls you back to the place of surrender. Come back, it whispers. Come back to the place of trust. Leave it here with me. And as you obey, as you consciously release your grip once more, that river of peace flows back in, washing away the fretfulness, quieting the frantic questions. This is the peace that allows you to sleep the night before the surgery when the medical report offers no guarantee. It is the peace that lets you sing when the bank account reads zero and the need is great. It is the peace that gives you a genuine smile and a compassionate heart for others, even while your own heart is aching. It defies all human logic. It confounds the world. It is the peace that Paul spoke of, which surpasses all understanding. It does not make sense to the mind because it is not a product of the mind. It is a gift of the Spirit, given to the heart that has made its home in the faithfulness of God. Cherish this peace. Cultivate it. It is more valuable than the miracle you seek. For the miracle, when it comes, will address a specific need in your life. But this peace will sustain you through every need you will ever face for the rest of your days. It is the permanent possession, the down payment of eternity planted in your present. It is the proof that you are no longer a slave to the outcome, but a friend of the King. You are walking with him, and his companionship has become enough even before the request is granted. So tonight, as you leave this place, do not measure your faith solely by the intensity of your desire for the breakthrough. Measure it by the depth of your peace in the waiting. That peace is the substance of things hoped for. It is the evidence of things not yet seen with your physical eyes, but fully real in your spirit. It is God's seal upon your heart, his personal guarantee that he is at work and that you are safe in his care. Go from here then, not with a clenched fist of demand, but with an open hand of trust. Carry this holy peace with you. Let it be the atmosphere of your life, for when your heart is at rest in him, you are in the most receptive, most powerful position possible. You are not straining to hear his footstep. You are leaning on his breast. And from that place of intimate rest, the sudden miracles of God spring forth most naturally. You will look back and see that this peace was not the prelude to the miracle, it was the very soil in which the miracle grew. Closing line for impact. The greatest miracle may not be the change in your circumstance, but the unshakable peace in your soul that proves you have finally, fully entrusted the circumstance to Him.